time on Coney Bananas. The 1987 Ford LTD Crown Victoria. It's a true police package vehicle. It's a P72 for people that care about that. It's in the VIN number. I have the build sheet that in the bottom corner says that it's a police package. Technically Ford would call this an S sedan, meaning no vinyl top, no vent windows, basic radio, cloth seats, 5-liter 302 V8 automatic. Would have the steel rims with those hubcaps with the S sedan package, and no stainless trim at all other than the around the windows. So picked it up from a cop, a Spring Grove, Illinois cop in Fox Lake. Found it randomly right up there with Kenny. He bought it from the Department of Lansing, Kansas, who had it from 1987. It was originally a gunmetal gray car. They had it as a squad car. Decommissioned it, painted it black, and used it as their dare car to go to the schools. They had it up until 2011 in their fleet, and then sold it to him. I don't know how he found it. It was an auction, or he was a cop, so maybe he knew somebody. He had it up for, I think, $2,100. I busted his balls and I got it for $1,900. Bought it for $1,900 and titled it. That was in 2016, right when I got out of college. I think I had a week or two left of my CAT program, and then bought the car as my own graduation gift. Ever since, there's not a whole lot been changed. I did front end work when I bought it. I've done some top end, like intake sealing. It had a bunch of electrical problems over the past couple of years too, with some minor wiring stuff. It almost set on fire once on the way to work. Last year I was pouring a lot of coolant in the intake because the EGR failed. I stole the original tires, I'm assuming from the department, because they're still speed rated HAAWKs that are pretty old and dry rot. I was planning to get new tires this year. I could put this back to a fully functioning, undercover per se, unmarked vehicle, I should say, detective's car. But I said, fuck it, I like driving it. So it's been in North Dakota and back. It's been all over the city. Yeah, me and Billy drove it up to North Dakota probably 3-4 years ago at this point. Air conditioning works too. It's R134A even, so that was awesome. We had to fix that. That was kind of a joke to fix, but whatever. Yeah, me and Tom took it on a hell ride. Pretty much from downtown EP and Oliphant Northwest Highway. It was balls of the wall to the floor, all the way over speed bumps, fast corners. Like, did 55 past Eminger over the speed bumps and just locked them up in front of Billy's house and then just got out. As Paul would say, official police business. It's nothing fancy. 1987 was the first year for fuel injection. Originally for that, a police package could also have the 5.8 351 with the variable Venturi carburetor, so I'm kind of happy I don't have that because that's just kind of goofy. Here, get that. That's pretty prone. I don't understand why this car is so bad. But
that's custom.
We just ignore it. This was the first car I've ever owned that had air conditioning that worked too, which is kind of funny. But we were going to do the GT40 heads. I was going to polish them and board them and just kind of do a quick valve job and slap them on here, and it would have been cool. But on those, alternators on this side and the AC compressors on this side and the throttle bodies on the passenger side. So it was incompatible. I forget why exactly. I said I wasn't going to do it because it was just more work than I cared, and it runs really good. You ain't racing anybody with it.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of the Crown Victoria. They're really large and heavy, so they don't go very fast. I just gave her all hell, and I got it to 115, and it not in overdrive too, because it wouldn't shift in overdrive. You kept it to the floor at 115, and I'm like, okay, that's enough. Yeah. It's the garage. It's not much. Bought it with the house. Really can't control that. I'm doing my best. It's better than my parents, though. We got my 2011 Ford Crown Victoria Interceptor as well. Just bought it as a daily driver from some lovely used car dealer down in the city of Chicago. Overpaid, but I don't care. I'm going to use the shit out of it and drive it till it dies. Almost like the Ranger. But nothing really fancy going on here. Rear brake job, and we got a rear axle seal that's leaking, so just got to pull the axle shaft out. I did the right side already before in the winter time at my shop, but I was in a rush, so I didn't do the left side. So now I get to do it now, and it's been sitting like this for a week and a half because I'm a lazy piece of shit. So what can I say? Work. So I don't know. That made it better one time, but 73 Ford Galaxie. Or 74. I don't remember. It's the same goddamn thing. Yeah, 73. I didn't lie to you. I didn't lie to you. This is a Route 45 special here locally. I was driving my service truck around for Brooks. I kept seeing it on the side of the road. Not far from here, 45 in New Cape, Wisconsin, little small town. Always drove past it and be like, man, that thing's cool, you know, big shitty four-door. But never stopped to look at it. Well, I was doing a job up there at 4.5 mile road in 45, and was coming back from a field call. Was hauling down 45, probably going like fucking 65 miles an hour, and I see him like just slammed on the brakes, nearly put the truck in the ditch. I said, you know, I'm gonna look at this thing. Well, I had a big for sale sign right here in the windshield, and said $1,500 OBO and a phone number. Phone number was barely legible, so I'm like, fuck it. I walked up the long driveway to the old bird's house, knocked on the door, and all these dogs are going absolutely crazy. Some woman opens the door, middle-aged woman named Karen. I said, hey, that's your Ford? Yeah. You interested in buying it? I said, absolutely. $1,500, huh? She says, $1,500 is the price. I'm not negotiating. That's all I'm paying for it. So I said, okay, fine. So the only stipulation was, and why I never sold for probably, maybe 2 years sitting in this field, grassy field, is because there's no title. The guy drove it from Idaho to Karen's, because I guess it's an old friend of hers, and then lived there for 2 years or so, bought a Suburban. She kind of had a part in buying the Suburban, so he owed her money. So he said, I'll just leave you the car, you sell it. Well, he never gave her a title, he gave her one key. So the whole thing was she's selling without a title, but she said that if I can get the state of Montana to send her another title, that she would. So I said, okay. So I got the form, sent it in, she signed it for the guy, her friend, and I got the Montana title for it for $10.30.
Don't get that in Illinois.
No. So I did that. Now I have the title. I just got to have her sign it on his behalf and get it registered as a hobbyist plate here in the state of Wisconsin. That car is a collector.
That's like
plate.
permanent.
Permanent.
Yeah.
Pay $200. The plate stays with the life of the vehicle, and that's it. So hobbyist plates are for cars that you modify, and collector plates are for cars that stay completely original. Do they care? I don't. But anyway, that's the story on how I bought it. When I went to buy it the day of, it took a while to get the title stuff squared away, like 2, maybe 3-4 months. Came by, it was all the tires were flat, they were sunk in the ground, it was full of mice. So I threw a battery in it, squeezed some fuel in the car, cranked it over and fired right up. I couldn't believe it. So then I got it running decent enough where I could at least get it out of filled all the tires in my service truck air compressor, my personal service truck. Got it out of its hole, pulled it up on the driveway, turned it off. I was going to get the trailer ready to load it up on the trailer, and starter goes click, click. Well, long story short, after screwing around, banging it with a hammer, it was useless. The starter was junked. It wasn't throwing the Bendix out to engage the flywheel. So I had to throw a starter in it in her driveway, eventually got on the trailer, and this is where it's sat really since. Like I said, it's a bare bones 4-door car, originally from South Dakota. It's a 351, roll-up windows, manual locks, manual windows. It's got power steering, power brakes. AM radio, right? Only AM? Yeah, AM radio only. There's a 351 smog engine. 73 was kind of the beginning of all that shit. It had 2-barrel carburetor with its original manifold. I bought that, just an Edelbrock Performer, right? Yeah, Edelbrock Performer, just to have a 4-barrel on it, and just slapped it on and put the Kubas carburetor on. It runs perfect. Yeah, I did the basic tune-up, plugs, wires, cap, rotor. It's originally a points car, but someone put a Pectronics, or however you say it, you know, solid-state ignition in it. The alternator doesn't work because the connection on the voltage regulator is totally toast. It's just corroded and all screwed up, so got a new regulator, got a pigtail coming to cut it off and butt it in, and it is solid as can be. There's minor rust and where water get in between the stainless on the wheel wells and then in the back rear quarters near the trunk, but it is overall, the driver's floor is solid, the whole frame is solid, all the suspension's real solid. I mean, it's not a Midwest car by any standards. So that's why I said it was worth it. But I wanted to, my neighbor, he's got a 71 Cutlass and he brags about it. It's got 455 in it, he says it's fast. So I wanted to kick his ass in like 2 years. Something that looks like just shit. I'm gonna keep the 351. I was gonna do it this winter, but I think Dodge might take priority. But I was gonna pull the 351, totally go through it, you know, keep it mostly stock. I'm gonna just kind of clean it all up, make sure the block's in good shape, maybe give it a hone. You know, if the block isn't screwed with ring ridge or scoring, check the crank over and all that. Maybe just flop the pistons over, throw a cam in it. I have a different, we'll show you in the garage actually, but I have a set of heads off of a 1970 351 and an intake, an old Edelbrock intake that I bought from this guy, this goofy Uncle Cheesehead. Now on Craigslist, they had these pair of heads and this intake for sale for $550. The heads were off a 70 351 and the intake's an F4B Edelbrock. Aluminum, kind of a, similar to the, people compare it to the Edelbrock Torquer manifold now. We'll throw it on there and see what this engine does. I don't expect a whole lot out of it because it's a small engine for a big car, but it'll be fun. But what goes behind it is more important. I want to do I'm gonna save my beans for a Tramac. I think I'm saying that wrong too, but whatever. Tramac 6-speed. So I want to overdrive, but I want a close ratio transmission. It'll probably be, might be a little heavier than the automatic, but whatever. And now I'm gonna do an 8.8 in the rear. I got them 8.8s over there sitting on the side. I got one out of a Crown Victoria I bought for $50. I got a pair for $100. So I'm selling one.
Slapping this thing together.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I don't want to put any money into it. The transmission's gonna be the most expensive part. I'm trying to find a used one. I wanted to do a Ford top loader, 4-speed overdrive. They're very hard to find. When you find one, they're like $1,000. Around here, at least in the Midwest. So I love 4-door cars. Obviously, you can tell I'm a sedan guy. So
big car, proper number of doors.
Yep. Just a sleeper. That's what I want to build. I don't know. I don't expect it to be crazy. I don't expect it to be really fast. I want to build something fun and weird. And
something you're gonna enjoy driving.
I want something that people come to me and say, "Why? You wasted your time. You're an idiot. Nobody likes this. It doesn't go fast. You have a small engine. Why'd you put so much money in the trans? Your vinyl top looks like shit." Whatever. That's the kind of comments I want. We can try and start it. It hasn't run. It hasn't run in quite a while. So. Should we give it some love? In the diesel industry, we got a term for it. It's called some summer breeze. That's when it's like 30 below. Oh, look, it's leaking fuel. Cool. That ought to do her. Just a shout out to Billy Todd. Told you I put it on something fun.
Okay. I can't believe it ran.
Yeah, the piece of shit fired up.
Yeah.
Who would have fucking guessed? It'd be a fun project. You'll have to come back and follow up in a
Yeah,
couple
it'd be good
years.
to do a revisit on this and see how far you came with it.
Hopefully we can do a video of I picked it up from O'Hare Airport with open headers and get pulled over. So that's that.
Cool.
Picked this up at the flea market for 25 bucks at Allstate Arena. It's like an early mid-70s because it has the automatic oiler. Ones with the manual oiler, they got a little plunger back here. Those are the earlier ones. This is the actually the chainsaw, the model of chainsaw that Chainsaw Massacre used. They're really good chainsaws. They're pretty renowned in the industry. Eclipse. My draft mower. This thing's hideous, but this one I feel most bad for. 1983 Dodge Power Ram 350 W350. Got this from the auto shop on Nagel and Northwest Highway. Bruce's Auto. Bruce. I met him at Nick's. He's a good guy, good people. Anyway. Picked this up in 2017, 2016, 2017 I think it was. So, story what it was at Bruce's Auto for like 2 or 3 years. I'd always drive by the auto shop and be like, that's a cool truck, you know. It was originally had the steel rims with hubcaps. Actually Ford pickup truck hubcaps. Not anymore, obviously. And I thought it was neat because it was a Dodge truck with the step side. Kind of unusual, and 4-wheel drive on top of that. So, always drive past it. I know Kenny even checked it out, and I looked at it twice. Well, one day I just was like, I don't know, I was just driving by. It was a fall, crappy day, and I just like, I should just go and inquire about it. And actually, I think it had a for sale sign on it, but I didn't even realize it at the time. So I go in there, walk in, talk to Bruce. Said, hey, I'm interested in that Dodge outside. He says, you want it? I'll tow it to your house for free. Get it out of my lot. I'm like, oh, hold on. Let me take a look at it. So I went outside. It was non-running. It was pretty much in this this condition. Just sat outside. Like I said, a little lower to the ground. Had stock wheels on it. So I popped the hood. And it has a lean burn, Chrysler lean burn air cleaner on top of a 318 2-barrel. All right. It was all the vacuum lines were off. There was wiring all over the place. It was a mess. It looked like it hadn't spun over in a while. So I went in there, talked to them. A lot of people say I've overpaid. I don't really care. I was a journeyman mechanic. Money was just, whatever. Living at mom and daddy's, I could do whatever the hell I wanted. So I bought it for $1,100 and towed it to my house for free. Unbeknownst to anybody, it pulls up. The truck had rotating amber lights on it, and it shines right through my front window with my mother sitting right there. She's like, I'm like, all right, cool. And she turns around, really? But yeah, it's towed to my house. Dropped it off in front of the street. Just put a battery in it, tried to crank it over. It fired up, but it would die immediately. It would only run high idle because those vacuum lines were all over the place. It wouldn't suck fuel on its own. So me and Paul ended up towing it with my Ranger, which was a 5-speed, little manual Ford Ranger, which this thing's pretty heavy. Just from in front of my house, around the alley into my garage, it ended up being a disaster because this thing, Paul was in the cab, he could barely turn the steering wheel because it was so hard. I was in the Ranger smoking the clutch, trying to pull it. We had neighbors pull up and like, that's my garage. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. We're busy, will ya? Park out in front. So finally got in the garage, got it in front of the garage in the alley. Eventually pushed it in the garage, and then got it running. It was running on the 2-barrel. It was running kind of funny. It ran rich. It fired right up though. I mean, it ran pretty smooth for what it was. After I connected all the vacuum lines back together and got the distributor back. The distributor was loose, so I got that back in time to put belts on it. And everything was working. And it was actually starting to, the more I ran it and drove it, I drove it to Moretti's, I think, twice. I drove it to Andrea's for some barrel fire one night. I think it was like New Year's or Christmas Eve or something like that. So I drove it around with the 2-barrel, and it was running okay, but it started to run progressively worse and worse and worse. And I was thinking, and then I screwed the distributor, and I thought I jumped the timing chain because it was running like crap. So me and Billy troubleshot it back and forth, back and forth. Couldn't figure it out. So one night, that was February, I don't know, I want to say the 2nd, but that doesn't matter. I was looking at the engine, I'm like, you know what, screw this. I just start ripping shit off, pull the intake, throw it over my shoulder, start pulling all the belts off, pull the front cover off. Billy calls, hey, what are you doing? Tearing down this 318 to the block. Awesome, I'm coming over. So me and Billy, he took the driver's side, and I was on the left side. He pulled the left side head, I pulled the right side head. Just went to town, down to a short block, pulled everything else off. Noticed a lot of ring ridge in this engine. So at some point, the short block failed in this truck because the heads are in 83, the exhaust manifolds are in 83. This actually was a original 4-barrel from the factory 318. That is because I didn't realize it had the hubcaps around the hubs. And I couldn't see, I can only see the locking hub and I couldn't see the rear axle at all. I'm walking by one day and I see this. It says 350. So I'm like, bullshit. It's a 1 ton. It's not a 1 ton, it's a half ton. I thought I bought a half-ton truck. I had the thing for like 2 months. I thought I was working on a half-ton. Well, I look at the VIN number, the GVWR is heavy. I pop this cover off and sure as shit, there's 8 lugs. Go back here. Full floating axle. I look at the rear diff cover, Dana 60. I'm like, what the hell? I just bought a 1 ton truck and I had no idea. So then I started digging into the VIN number and I actually dug in the glove box. This is original cab chassis truck from Dodge. ComEd bought it brand new. ComEd used it as a utility truck. It definitely isn't factory. Definitely doesn't belong to the truck. The fact that the color matches is pretty incredible. So I don't know what the story is, to be honest with you, on the bed. I'm pretty positive it's a Dodge step side, but I don't know that to verify. I've tried to look. Someone told me it was an International Harvester step side, but those are a little different. They're different styling. They have different wheel well covers and a different rail along the top, but whatever. It took a couple months, and the whole goal with this truck was all my friends from college were I don't know, they liked spending money more than I. They all bought side-by-sides to go to the sand dunes with. We always go to the sand dunes. I never brought anything there up at Silver Lake, Michigan. Always wanted to do something with it. Didn't want to afford a side-by-side because I'm blowing 20 grand on something like that, so forget it. So I said, screw it, I'll build this for it. We had like 9 or 10 months to do it, so it was a total roadkill job. So when me and Billy pulled the heads off and saw the ring ridge, what are you gonna do? Billy would say, fuck it. When we put it back together, had the heads done to factory spec at a machine shop in Waukegan that's not there anymore. Had them redone. I worked at a cat dealer. I got all new cap bolts for it, for the head, and every single piece of hardware in this is a cap bolt, for the engine at least. Put a new starter in, put a different intake. Billy found actually an old 78 Dodge pickup at the Victory Auto Records. And it was amazing that it was still a 4-wheel drive truck that wasn't mutilated yet there. It had a Edelbrock Performer intake on it already, and it had this bumper. So I took the manifold, I took the bumper off, and I robbed a bunch of other silly parts off it, nothing crazy. I should have taken more. I should have took the transfer case, but it's later. But I got this awesome Smitty built bumper that is totally time period correct and totally looks with the truck. The cold, snowy day, it just snowed like a little over half a foot, and I went to Victory to get this kneel down in the hood full of rat shit and this fucking bumper off at Victory Auto Records in a cold February or day, I believe it was. So I got that. We'll pop the hood now. Show that motor. Like I said, this engine was done by primarily me and Billy. He did a lot of work there. He was a big help with it. He was there for the break-in. He was there for all the disassembly and some of the assembly. He was there for the hard stuff. I was a real nervous wreck with timing because I was really worried about the breaking in the camshaft because I've never done that before, and all I read online are horror stories. This is the 318. It's a fresh top end job. I painted all black Chrysler blue. I got this radiator actually out of that junk Dodge too at Victory. I just got this air cleaner. It's an Autobrock 1406 4-barrel 600 CFM carburetor underneath it. Here's our PCV filter, whatever the hell you want to call it. This thing chugs smoke after it warms up. It blows so much blow by, it fills the hood with smoke underneath. It's awesome how much blow by this thing.
It's a fog machine.
It runs like a top though. This thing runs super smooth. It's honestly, this engine that me and Billy put together, half-ass, runs the smoothest out of any vehicle in this property. Otherwise, it's bone stock. I threw a mild cam in it, but I didn't know the numbers on camshafts and what they really meant back then. So if it's mild, I don't know. It doesn't have any lope to it, but it runs pretty well. It overheated the dunes. You know, it overheated twice. When I say overheated, it didn't blow the radiator cap and spew steam, but it would get hot, and I stopped it. I knew better. Like 205. I got the 210. I'm like, that's enough. The suspension. So the suspension was whack. It ride like shit. I found these tires on Craigslist at lunchtime at Patton one day. Some guy just west of Patton was selling these on the rims, tires and rims, all four American Racing. They are true American Racing rims, by the way, for $125. 33s by 12.5s. I couldn't pass it up. I drove over there, stuffed them in my Ranger, and that was perfect. So I stuffed them on here. They were big for stock suspension, but they cleared. This whole thing about it was cheap. So I bought a $500 Skyjacker lift kit, 4 inches. Came with new front springs and lift blocks for the back. And I put it on in Moochie's driveway, I think in 3 days or something like that. Now that's where John comes in. John helped out a lot on the suspension. Not only for letting me do it in his driveway, but he helped out on, I think he did the right side. And he helped with like the leaf springs and shit. So, and I put the tires on it, and I fell in love with the look. It leveled out and it rides really nice now. I mean, it ran like a hard bitch before. Excuse me, but it rides real nice. Looks super cool. The lift came in handy. I actually blew a shock on the last final jump of the day. Still never fixed it, but hey, it's all part of it. So yeah, 318 up front, 727 torque flight for an automatic 3-speed transmission. Original, February 1983 it was built. And then the transfer case, actually, the original transfer case, I'd put it for 4-wheel drive. I'd give her the beans a little bit and it would kick out into neutral. Well, really goes neutral between 4 high and 2 high, or 2 high. So it was junk. I didn't know that. Pulled it off, split it, and it used a plastic, I would call it it's part of the shifting mechanism. It was like a plastic retainer, you could call it. It was worn out, shot, destroyed. So long story short, the transfer case was junk. At Patton one day, freaking out because I had to get this thing done in like 3 weeks. It had to be done. It had to go to the dunes, whether hell or high water. So I was gonna jump this bitch for all that work. Ended up finding the guy actually bought parts off of Craigslist before. He actually delivered a different transfer case, a 208C, not a 208D, to Patton for $75. I was thrilled. Split it. It was different. It was a non-synchronized transfer case. So I split it. It looked good. Slapped it back together. Threw it in the truck. Works perfect. The only problem was I put it in 2-wheel drive once, and it got stuck. That was the only thing I noticed. It would get stuck in 2-wheel drive. So I actually got mad, pulled it back off. I remember Billy helping me with it. We pulled it back off, and it just bouncing around in my back of my old 1987 F350 service truck. It actually bounced itself back into 4-wheel drive. So I said, screw it, I didn't care. I just left the linkage off, threw it back up in there, and rolled it, and we just unlocked the hubs to drive around town. So, the interior's shot, the floor's destroyed. I was gonna fix the floor, but I cut it out, and it ended up being a hell of a lot worse than I thought. So, it is the original interior, and actually it's kind of cool. We put this little tack in it. It's kind of nice. We put some real cheap ass gauges in it, and they work super well. It's kind of a cool Dodge interior though, because it's got the additional gauges on there, but it doesn't have a radio. It doesn't have vents in the front, like right next to right here. That should be a vent. That should be a vent. The radio should be there. Nothing. You get for defrosted floor. So it's the most basic interior I've ever seen in a Dodge. most part. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of them, but vinyl seat, bench seat, rubber floors, and actually would kill the floor. All this got dry rot over time, plus the roof. The rain gutters leak. You get on the floor, you get in the insulation of the rubber, and it rotted it from the inside out. So the cab mount's screwed. The cab leans to the left. What are you gonna do? You can barely see it. I got Billy Moyer, 18, and John Mucci of 2018 on there. I mean, regardless of all the time it sits around, it runs super well. So. That's not appropriate. I'm gonna spend many hours in this position. Fill the bowls.
This is proper starting technique.
Yeah, this thing, it drains fuel all the way back to the tank every time. Doesn't matter. Good job, Billy. Oh, yeah. To get this stupid ass linkage. This is so important on Chrysler automatic transmissions. Nobody sells them. All they sell is this dumbass cable that all the hot rod guys use, and I just wanted the linkage. I don't want to fuck around with a cable for this piece of crap. I actually got it from that parts guy I got the transfer case from. I think I actually paid, I don't know how much I paid for it. 50 bucks.
Do it again.
Summer breeze.
Well, till next time.
See you tomorrow. I don't know.
See you Tuesday.
Later. That's it.